Beneath Egypt's greatest monuments, there are doors no one is allowed to open. Not because they are empty, but because they were sealed on purpose. Deep underground, below pyramids, temples, and tombs, ancient engineers carved tunnels that lead nowhere, and chambers with no inscriptions, as if whatever was placed inside was never meant to be remembered. Modern scanners have detected hidden voids beneath Egypt, spaces no human has entered for thousands of years. And the most disturbing question is not what lies inside them, but why they were sealed forever. For more than 5,000 years, Egypt has been defined by what rises above the desert: pyramids that scrape the sky, temples aligned with the sun, statues carved to outlive memory itself. But this is only half the story. Beneath the sand, beneath the stone, beneath the monuments the world knows so well, lies another Egypt. One that was never meant to be seen, an underground Egypt. A vast, deliberate world, carved into bedrock, hidden from the living, sealed by design, and protected by silence. Ancient Egyptian civilization did not only build upward toward the heavens, they also built downward, into darkness. Long before modern archaeology existed, Egyptian engineers cut tunnels deep into limestone and granite. These passages were not crude escape routes or storage spaces. They were carefully planned, measured, and aligned with religious beliefs that viewed the underworld as a physical destination, not a metaphor. To the ancient Egyptians, the land beneath the earth was known as the Duat, the realm souls had to pass through after death. It was dangerous, complex, and filled with trials. And remarkably, many underground structures across Egypt appear to mirror this belief in stone. Recent archaeological surveys, ground-penetrating radar scans, and limited excavations have revealed networks of shafts, corridors, and chambers beneath major sites such as Giza, Saqqara, Abydos, and Luxor. Some of these structures descend over 100 feet below the surface. Others stretch horizontally for distances that remain unmapped. What makes these underground spaces unsettling is not just their scale, but their intention. Many tunnels lead to sealed chambers with no inscriptions. Others end abruptly, blocked by massive stone plugs weighing several tons. Some passages appear intentionally collapsed from the inside. These are not the actions of builders who expected to return. The deeper researchers go, the more questions emerge. Why invest enormous effort carving spaces that would never be seen again? Why create chambers with no decoration in a culture obsessed with symbolism? And why seal certain areas so completely that even ancient looters never reached them? The answer may lie in knowledge the Egyptians believed was too powerful, too sacred, or too dangerous to exist in the world of the living. Evidence suggests that underground spaces served multiple purposes. Some were ritual pathways used during initiation ceremonies. Others were symbolic journeys, allowing priests or kings to physically reenact the passage of the soul through the Duat. And some may have served as containment, spaces designed not to honor something, but to isolate it. Tool marks found deep underground show incredible precision, often in locations impossible to reach with natural light or ventilation. These were not hurried constructions. They were masterpieces of engineering executed in total darkness. In several sites, archaeologists have discovered vertical shafts descending straight down, sometimes narrowing until no human could pass. These shafts do not appear functional. They appear intentional, as if something was meant to descend, but never ascend. Ancient texts warn repeatedly about the dangers of the underworld. They speak of gates guarded by unseen forces, chambers of judgment, and paths that must never be entered by the unworthy. When these texts are compared with physical underground layouts, the parallels are impossible to ignore. This raises a disturbing possibility. What if these tunnels were not just symbolic representations of belief, but physical counterparts to it? What if ancient Egyptians built the underworld because they believed it was real? As modern science pushes deeper beneath Egypt's sands, it becomes clear that what lies below may challenge everything we think we know about this civilization. The greatest secrets of Egypt were not carved into monuments for the sun to see. They were buried, hidden, and sealed forever. The Giza Plateau is often described as the most studied archaeological site on Earth. Millions of visitors walk its surface every year. Satellites pass above it. Drones map it from the sky. And yet, what lies beneath Giza remains largely unknown. The pyramids were never intended to exist only above ground. From their very conception, they were designed as three-dimensional structures, extending downward into the earth as much as they rose toward the heavens. Beneath the Great Pyramid of Khufu lies a complex system of shafts, passages, and chambers that defy simple explanation. Some were discovered early in modern exploration. Others were identified only recently through non-invasive scanning technologies. The most unsettling truth is this: what we know may represent only a fraction of what exists. One of the earliest passages discovered beneath the Great Pyramid slopes downward for more than 100 feet, carved directly into bedrock. It leads to a chamber often dismissed as unfinished. But unfinished by whose standards? The walls are smooth, the angles are precise. The chamber is structurally perfect. It lacks decoration not because it was abandoned, but because decoration may never have been the purpose. Nearby, vertical shafts descend deep into the earth, narrowing as they go, making human access nearly impossible. These shafts do not lead to burial chambers. They do not serve ventilation. They do not align with practicality. They align with intention. Some shafts end abruptly in solid stone. Others appear to continue beyond mapped limits, disappearing into darkness beyond reach. Advanced scans beneath the plateau have detected anomalies, voids, cavities, and hollow spaces that do not correspond to any known structures. Some are massive. Others are narrow and linear, like tunnels. But excavation in these areas is restricted. Why? Because the Giza Plateau is not just an archaeological site. It is a national symbol, and what lies beneath it has the potential to challenge long-held assumptions about Egypt's origins, its technology, and its purpose. Ancient texts describe the pyramid not merely as a tomb, but as a gateway, a machine of transition, a structure that enabled the king to pass between worlds. If that is true, then what role did the underground passages play? Some Egyptologists suggest that subterranean chambers represented the first stage of the afterlife journey, a symbolic descent before spiritual ascent. But symbolism alone does not explain the sheer effort invested underground. Granite blocks weighing several tons were hauled deep below ground. Precision cuts were made in complete darkness. Entire chambers were carved where no living person was meant to remain. Even more disturbing are signs of intentional sealing. Stone plugs were slid into place from within passages, locking areas permanently. Collapses were engineered, not accidental. These were controlled closures, carried out by those who knew exactly what they were doing. Which raises a critical question: what required such absolute isolation? Legends surrounding Giza speak of forbidden chambers beneath the plateau, places where dangerous knowledge was stored, or where powerful objects were hidden away from humanity. While such stories are often dismissed as myth, physical evidence suggests that something beneath Giza was deliberately concealed. Modern technology has revealed a large void above the Grand Gallery, an empty space with no known entrance. If such a chamber can exist undetected for thousands of years above ground, how many more might exist below? The pyramid complex also includes lesser-known underground tunnels near the Sphinx. Early explorers reported shafts and chambers beneath the statue, some leading toward the pyramids themselves. Officially, these tunnels are sealed. Unofficially, their purpose remains unexplained. Some researchers propose that Giza was once part of a much larger underground network, one that predates the pyramids entirely. If true, the pyramids may have been built atop something far older, something already sacred, something already feared. In this context, the pyramids become less like tombs and more like markers, placed deliberately above ancient gateways not meant for the living. As excavation technology advances, the greatest mystery of Giza may not be how the pyramids were built, but what they were built to protect. Saqqara is often described as Egypt's oldest necropolis. That description is accurate, but dangerously incomplete, because Saqqara is not just a burial ground. It is an underground city. While the step pyramid of Djoser dominates the surface, the true scale of Saqqara lies beneath the sand. Hidden below is a labyrinth so vast, so layered, that even today no complete map exists. Miles of tunnels stretch beneath the plateau. Corridors intersect and split. Levels descend one beneath another. Some passages were carved for burial. Others were carved for reasons still unknown. The most famous structures beneath Saqqara are the animal catacombs, housing millions of mummified ibises, baboons, bulls, and cats. But these catacombs are only the upper layers of a far deeper system. Below them lie older tunnels, darker tunnels, tunnels with no remains. Archaeologists have discovered chambers deep beneath Saqqara that are completely empty. No coffins, no inscriptions, no offerings. These chambers were not looted. They were never used for burial at all, which raises a disturbing question. Why would ancient Egyptians carve massive underground halls, reinforced with pillars and perfectly aligned corridors, and leave them empty? Some of these tunnels descend more than 30 meters below the surface. The deeper levels show greater precision, stronger reinforcement, and fewer decorations. This suggests a deliberate separation, different purposes for different depths. At the deepest levels, burial disappears entirely. Instead, what remains are sealed chambers, blocked passages, and corridors that end in solid stone. In some cases, the ceiling stones were placed from the inside. This is not accidental architecture. It is containment. Ancient Egyptian religious texts describe certain knowledge as forbidden, truths meant only for priests or for the gods themselves. Saqqara, as the oldest religious center in Egypt, may have been the physical repository of this knowledge. Texts from the Pyramid Age reference houses of eternity beneath the earth and paths that must not be walked by the uninitiated. When compared with the physical layout of Saqqara's deeper tunnels, these descriptions become alarmingly literal. In several chambers, tool marks indicate advanced planning. Corners are squared with mathematical precision. Ceilings are reinforced at stress points. Ventilation shafts exist where no humans were expected to remain. Why ventilate an empty chamber? One possibility is ritual use. Initiation rites may have taken place underground, with priests descending through darkness as part of symbolic rebirth. But the scale of Saqqara exceeds ritual necessity. Another theory suggests storage, not of objects, but of concepts. Knowledge carved into walls now eroded. Teachings deliberately sealed away as dynasties fell. More troubling theories exist. Some researchers believe that Saqqara functioned as a controlled boundary between the world of the living and something else entirely, a place where certain forces were isolated, not honored. Ancient warnings carved near deep tunnels speak of silence, darkness, and irreversible paths. These inscriptions are rare, subtle, and often deliberately damaged, as if meant to be forgotten. The deeper one goes beneath Saqqara, the less Egypt resembles a civilization of tombs, and the more it resembles a civilization of barriers. Barriers meant to keep something in. Today, large portions of Saqqara's underground network remain closed, not because they are unstable, but because they are unexplored. Modern archaeologists admit that excavation is slow, dangerous, and politically sensitive. What lies below could change everything, because Saqqara does not tell the story of death. It tells the story of what the ancient Egyptians were afraid to leave behind. Abydos was never an ordinary city. To the ancient Egyptians, Abydos was sacred ground, so sacred that burial there was believed to guarantee resurrection. Kings, nobles, and priests all desired a connection to this place, even if only symbolically. But what made Abydos truly powerful was not what stood on its surface. It was what lay beneath. Unlike Giza or Saqqara, Abydos was not designed primarily as a necropolis. It was a ceremonial center, a place where myth, architecture, and belief merged into something physical. Here, the god Osiris was believed to have been buried, not symbolically. Literally, according to ancient texts, Osiris, the god of death, rebirth, and judgment, was dismembered and reassembled beneath the earth. His resurrection was not just a story told in temples. It was a process reenacted through ritual, movement, and space. And Abydos was built to accommodate that process. Beneath the Osirian and the Temple of Seti lies a network of underground chambers and corridors unlike anything else in Egypt. Massive stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, were used underground, an effort far exceeding practical necessity. The Osirian itself sits at a lower level than the surrounding temple, deliberately sunken into the earth. To enter it is to descend, physically and symbolically, into the underworld. Water once flowed through this structure, surrounding a central stone island. This was not decoration. Water represented the primordial chaos from which life emerged. The architecture itself was a myth made real. But beyond the Osirian lie deeper passages, less documented, less understood. Ground surveys have detected corridors extending outward from Abydos in deliberate alignments, some pointing toward the desert, others toward unknown destinations beneath the Nile floodplain. These tunnels do not house burials. They do not store offerings. They serve movement through darkness. Ancient initiation rituals likely involve descending into these spaces, navigating narrow corridors and vast chambers in total darkness. The initiate would symbolically die, pass through the realm of Osiris, and emerge reborn. But not everyone emerged. Texts speak of paths of no return, chambers sealed after use, and gates closed forever. Some of these descriptions align disturbingly well with physical sealed tunnels discovered beneath Abydos. Stone blocks were slid into place after rituals were completed. Passages were collapsed intentionally. Certain areas were erased from memory. Why? Because resurrection was not meant for everyone. The deeper chambers of Abydos show almost no decoration. Walls are smooth, bare, and silent. This absence of imagery is itself a message. These spaces were not meant to teach. They were meant to transform or contain. Modern archaeology has barely scratched the surface at Abydos. High groundwater, structural risk, and religious sensitivity have limited excavation. Entire sections remain untouched. And yet, the symbolism is unmistakable. Abydos was designed as a threshold, a place where the boundary between life and death could be crossed, not metaphorically. Architecturally, if Giza was a gateway for kings, and Saqqara a city of containment, then Abydos was something far more dangerous. It was a machine of rebirth, and like all powerful machines, parts of it were sealed forever. Even in the modern age, Egypt is not fully excavated. This is not because of a lack of technology. It is not because of a lack of interest. And it is not because everything has already been discovered. It is because some places remain sealed by choice. Across Egypt, beneath temples, pyramids, and desert plateaus, lie chambers that have never been opened. Not looted, not explored, not documented. They remain exactly as they were left, thousands of years ago. Modern archaeological surveys using ground-penetrating radar, muon scanning, and seismic imaging have revealed voids beneath known monuments, spaces with clear geometric boundaries, intentional shapes, and structural reinforcement. These are not natural caves. They are rooms. Yet excavation permits are rarely granted. When they are, exploration often stops abruptly, officially citing instability, groundwater, or preservation concerns. Unofficially, another reason is often whispered: risk. Because opening sealed underground chambers is not just a scientific act, it is a cultural, political, and historical gamble. Throughout Egyptian history, sealing was a final act. It was deliberate and ceremonial. Once a chamber was closed, it was never meant to be reopened. Stone plugs were placed from the inside. Corridors were collapsed in controlled ways. Access shafts were filled with rubble and sand, erasing their presence entirely. This level of finality suggests that what was sealed was not meant to be recovered. In some cases, ancient texts describe chambers that contained dangerous truths, knowledge that could destabilize order if revealed. Other texts speak of places where gods descended, or where boundaries between realms weakened. While such language is often dismissed as symbolic, archaeology increasingly shows that ancient Egyptians expressed belief through architecture, not metaphor. If something was feared, it was buried. If something was sacred, it was hidden. If something was both, it was sealed forever. Several sealed zones are known but remain off-limits. Beneath the Giza Plateau, voids detected by scans remain unexplored. Beneath Saqqara, deep tunnels are mapped only partially. Beneath Abydos, Entire sections lie below groundwater and remain untouched. Even in Luxor, beneath the Valley of the Kings, anomalies suggest deeper chambers below royal tombs, places never reached by ancient robbers or modern archaeologists. This raises an uncomfortable question. What if these chambers were not sealed to protect treasures, but to protect the world from what they contained? History has shown that every time Egypt reveals something new, our understanding shifts. Chronologies are rewritten. Technologies are reassessed. Assumptions collapse. Some discoveries change details. Others change everything. Opening sealed chambers risks uncovering evidence that challenges accepted narratives about timelines, construction methods, or even the origins of civilization itself. And so, many doors remain closed, not because they cannot be opened, but because opening them would force answers no one is prepared to give. Egypt's greatest secrets were never meant to inspire awe. They were meant to remain buried. And as long as the stone seals hold, the silence continues. The greatest secrets of Egypt were never lost to time. They were sealed by design.